live, and I believe we are live. Welcome, 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 welcome. Good evening. Hello, champion parents. Welcome to Parenting in Rhythm. Parenting in Rhythm is a community based movement built around conversations, shared resources, and empowerment. Based on our research and experience, it is evident that knowledge, support, and parental skills increases empowerment and decreases and or eliminates feelings of despair and even alienation for our children. Now, April is Autism Awareness Month. April is designated as, like I said, National Autism Awareness Month. Now, we know that, or you may not know, autism is a spectrum disorder and it's a developmental disability that can significantly socially and affect communication and behavioral challenges in children. The learning, thinking, and problem solving abilities of people with ASD, autism spectrum disorder, ASD, can range from gifted to severely challenged. According to Stanford Children's Health, it is critical that parents of children with autism spectrum disorder have a good support system in place. This will not only help your child cope with the unique aspects of his or her disorder, it would also help you to learn how to manage your feelings and emotions when faced with the challenges of raising a child with this condition. So there are plenty of resources out available if you need resources with dealing with your child while we're celebrating Autism Awareness Month. So
That's good.
let's go to our. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was agreeing with you. I was like,
Oh,
yes, yes.
okay. So we have a champion parent with us this Monday. Champion parent Lisa Austin. She's a humble mother of three. She has two adult sons and one teenage daughter. She has five beautiful grandchildren and is the middle child and a product of a 58-year marital union. She's a graduate of Oakland University, a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and has 25 professional years in healthcare. Additionally, she's an advocate of what's right over who is right and a promoter of the family unit. So we'd like to welcome our beautiful and wonderful guest, Miss Lisa Austin.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for joining us this evening. Thank you for spending your evening with us. And I know I just feel that it's going to be overwhelming knowledge that's going to be shared.
Yes,
Definitely. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming.
yes. And I'm so happy to have you. And you have such a wonderful name.
I like her name too.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lisa.
thank you, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so as Miss April was reading the introduction, I thought it was awesome to hear that you are a product of a 58-year marital
That's very,
union.
very
And when I see couples that are married and have been married for so long, that is always beautiful to me. And sometimes that is not always seen, depending on what household you're coming from. But I know in my growing up, that is like just seeing a long term marital union was not normal to me. I don't want to say normal, but
Mhm.
it wasn't something I saw often, other than maybe going to
Mhm.
church and a few folks in the family. So
Mhm.
that was beautiful. And then the other thing I just wanted to point out before we get started, you are an advocate for what is right versus who is right. And if some of our political folks could adopt that, we would be all right. So so again, I want to say welcome, and we're gonna delve right into it. So who is Lisa Austin? Who is Lisa Austin?
I am a champion parent at heart. You know how some ladies, young girls grow up and they say, when I grow up, I want to be a wife, I want to be this, I want to be that. If
Yes.
my mother is my witness, I always wanted to be a mother.
Oh,
I always wanted to be a mother.
okay.
And being a parent has been the apple of my eyes as well as the tears on my pillow. But they're all
Mm,
worthwhile because it is no other job that can be given as a parent that
wow.
is humbling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's something else that you did not point out. You are a poet. And, when you just said what you said, when you just said what you said, she said what she said. When you just said what you said, it's just so evident that you're a natural poet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was a kid that got the threes in citizenship because I talked a lot. So what my mother did, who is a educator, a retired educator, social worker, she tapped into my spark. And so now I do presentations. I uh, present in front of groups of professionals, doctors, and that's one of the things that I like about being a parent is I was raised by a parental union who tapped into who I am and they cultivated that. They
Mm-hmm.
may have wanted me to get ones in citizenship, but I got threes. So my mom put me in poetry writing things and things to
Yeah.
be able to use my voice in a more positive way. And so that's the benefit of tapping into your kids. So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, taking what sometimes we view as being negative and fostering that, like that's something I'm learning to do right now with my son. I'm trying to figure out this energy that he has that I am looking at like maybe busyness or a bad attitude, but who knows? But anyway, it's not about me. We're going to move right along.
We're always looking for, it's just interesting as a parent that when somebody spark and say something, you're like, oh, I can, it just
Yes.
applies to you. You make it applicable to you. Like, okay, well, maybe, I could try this or do this or something resonates. So I understand.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So Lisa, what's a typical day like for you as a champion parent, as a champion grandparent? What's a typical day like for you?
So we all start off with good morning. They always say I'm on 10 to bring it down. I say, you got to rejoice that you've been given another day. So my day starts either calling my grandkids, saying how their day going, have a great day at school. I only have one in the household now. So she's a teenager. And so our day starts out with what do we want to accomplish today? We
Mm-hmm.
start off with goals
Mm-hmm.
every morning. What's your goal today? What are you going to accomplish? How are you feeling? I always ask, what makes you feel like that's a great goal, or what
Mm-hmm.
makes you feel the way you feel, so that I know how to connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people will say, this is not a good day, mom. I don't feel like talking. And so I have to recognize that. So making sure that one, we know what our goals are.
Mm-hmm.
Two, what's for dinner. Three, what all of the things that we need to accomplish, and what do we need to do to work collectively together to make those things happen. We
Mm-hmm.
just started something new with cooking, and I could share it right now. Whereas with the pandemic, everybody's eating more, cooking more,
Okay.
can't go out as much. And as a parent, you might get worn out with that. So I came up with a great strategy. How about we have a 5-day run? You cook for 2 days, I cook for two, and one day we cook together and you go for yourself on the weekends.
Mm,
So
nice.
setting goals and saying how we're going to accomplish them. And then at the end of the day, or even the next day, we may do a recap and say, we had 4 loads of baskets to fold and we only got 2. So today, when we're watching this TV, we're going to finish that. So accomplishing and setting goals, that's what a day looks like for me. Now that's on as a parent. I feel like in my professional arena, because I have colleagues that report to me, I'm somewhat of a parent in that role as well, because I am now seasoned and I have a lot of younger colleagues that I got some teachable moments for them. And so I'm
Yeah.
parenting throughout my day wherever I go in whatever capacity I need.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Yeah, you have to have a beautiful spirit to have that charge. I was just saying that, I admire people who have the charge on their heart to when you have something good to share that you actually want to take the time to uplift people. And, so anyway, that's a beautiful thing. So and I know you kind of spoke to it a little bit, but like as far as the village, how significant, like when raising children, how significant is or was the village to you?
Definitely, it is very significant and important. By my mom being a social worker, that's all she talked about is the village. It takes a village. It takes a village. So I had come up with the village of aunts and uncles and other people who were in my mom's professional circle who exposed us to things. So that was a great model for me. So I now have my own village.
Mhm.
People who are mentors, people who are creative, people who work in different industries that I try to expose my children, grandkids to, whether it's taking them to something that they're sponsoring, allowing them to go over to auntie's house just to get respite with the cousins,
Yeah.
because I am challenged with having a teenager who doesn't have siblings right in the household. So
Mhm.
my village is really, really important. I'm also a mother with a 28-year-old and a 25-year-old. So most people who have a 15-year-old are not in the same area of life as me. So being able to connect with people so that she can still get the best exposure is so important. But I want to say this, you need your village as a parent as well. You need the
Mhm.
village for people who can expose your kids and show them positive things and mentoring, but you
Yes.
need your group too to be able to refuel, to bounce ideas off of. It really does take a village. And
Yes.
that's a real important concept.
It is. It's very true. You know, a lot of times in parenting, we especially if you're a champion parent, you know, you're champion parent, your focus is so tough on raising your children and giving them what they need and constantly, you know, but sometimes you forget about yourself.
Mhm.
So hear this champion parents that are listening in. It's good to be a champion parent, but you have to take care of yourself as well. And we know Miss April always talk about self-care and taking care of yourself. So as Miss April says it, now Miss Lisa is saying it. So,
Mhm.
you know, hey, it must be true.
Yeah, because I think
You know
sometimes as
what?
parents, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and by you doing that and taking care of yourself and showing the importance
Yeah.
of self-love and self-care, you're actually modeling for your child to know that it's important for them to have their own time and take care of themselves. But
Hmm.
go
Yeah.
ahead, Miss April, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, well, to piggyback off of you saying, Miss Austin, yeah, it's important for you to take time for yourself because I think as parents we get consumed with our kids, and we always, especially with children. Well, even single children, if you have one child, even multiple children, we can get consumed of their needs and
Mhm.
what they need and what they want, and put ourselves on a back burner. And I think as parents, sometimes we got to be mindful of that and make sure that we have an equal balance. We don't necessarily want to put our children and their needs on the back burner. We
Right.
definitely want to put our stuff on the back burner, but it's important just to have a good balance.
Yeah.
Balance is key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of balance, like let's just get into it. So we talking about setting boundaries.
Mhm.
And you know, I like I said, I could just everything is just fire, fire, fire. So let me just woosah. We're gonna stick to boundaries, Miss Lisa. Okay. So yeah, so talking about boundaries, define boundaries for the viewers.
All right. As a parent, you need to have some limits and bounds on what your children can and cannot do, and they need to understand what those boundaries are. So it kind of goes into two categories. There's some fundamental boundaries that I think every household, every parent should have, which is again promoting self-love and self-care. So that's about going to bed early, eating right, exercising, taking care of yourself. But I also think health and diet is important. Um, our kids now just don't necessarily always have options or access to good options, whether it's at
Yeah.
school or whether it's with their friends. So setting boundaries and making sure that they understand the importance of them. So health, diet, exercise, self-care, education, those are fundamental things that you need to set boundaries for. The other thing about a boundary, it may not be applicable to everyone, but some people or some children need different boundaries than others. I had a child, had lots of energy, a son. We had to set boundaries of what time you gonna go to bed, when you gonna do this, and I mean really stick to it, because if he did not get his rest, even to this day at 25, he's not the most happiest, pleasant person in the next morning. So, or you have a kid that and this is real a real truth moment that's challenging. As an educator, Lisa, you might have that student that you heard about from the second grade, you heard about them in the third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and they have a reputation.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, every 24 should stand on its own. And so you need to sometimes have small boundaries just for today,
Mm-hmm.
just for this hour. So boundaries can go across the spectrum of raising your children. As a parent, you know what's best for your household,
Mm-hmm.
but there are those fundamental ones that we should all have.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good topic. Just when you talk about boundaries, because you see that sometimes the parent relationship with their children, their friends,
Mhm.
and to me that's something, I don't know, have you guys ever used that, like with your kids? Like sometimes parents say that I am your friend, you can't talk to me, and then you have some parents that say, hold on, wait a minute, I'm not your friend, I'm not your friend.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Like, is that a bad thing to say I'm not your friend, or is it better to say I am your friend?
So this is something we just went through
Hmm.
because turning sweet 16, I think it was thought that I was your friend. And I'm referring to my beautiful, wonderful daughter. And so we had to have that conversation. Because of my friendly disposition, I'm pretty much friendly and friends with most until something may happen.
Yes.
It's not bad to say I'm not your friend because I just said it. I'm friendly. I'm your best friend, your best supporter, your best resource, your best ally. But I'm not your friend in the way in which you would speak to your friend who is the same age as you, your peer. I'm not your friend. So again, setting boundaries. I'm friendly and nobody not gonna do anything against you, and I'm gonna be your number one advocate.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But
right.
I'm not your friend. Don't call me bro. Don't call me man. Because it's just the way that the young people talk now.
Yep.
So I don't think it's anything wrong with it, but having a background in education, I always like to give the why
Yeah.
behind the reason. So if you explain it to them what it means to not be your friend, but yet I'm friendly, I think
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. And it is, it's important because I think that how parents allow their children to respond, or how they allow them to act at home, they carry that over to outside the house, and because I've had students, bruh, I'm like, hold on,
Oh
Miss
no.
Card is fine, Miss Card is fine, you
Yes.
know and
Mm-hmm.
just the way you hear certain relationships, and it's like, wow, y'all talk to each other like that, like that's not cool for me.
Right.
Yeah, so you're right, it's very important. So we pretty much asked, well, I think you pretty much answered this, but I'm gonna ask it again, because we know that there are many why do you think it's necessary to establish those lines within boundaries? Like, can you give like some different examples of why it's necessary?
So everything, there's a limits and bounds to everything. So really, I'm going to quote my mom, the retired social worker. You are really raising an adult.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really raising a kid. So she never believed in that goo goo gaga talk. She always
Yeah.
talked to us straight up. And I've been that same way with my kids because there's boundaries in the world. And they need to know that it begins at home. It begins with me having some boundaries and constraint within myself. And then it won't be so hard that when they get into a workplace or when they get into a sports group or another opportunity with other people and not recognize that there are rules. There's an expectation on how you do something
Mm-hmm.
or how you don't do something. So boundaries, it's really important, and everything needs structure. I did learn that late in the parenting game because I kind of started off with the friend and all of that. But being friendly because again, I always wanted to be a mama. So when I got my babies, you couldn't don't mess with me or my babies, and they were my babies. But then mom tapped in and like, you're raising adults, and You shouldn't do that at home, because then when they get out in the public, they're gonna not know what to do or what not to do. It's just like
Mhm.
it's important to sit down and have dinner. That's the boundary. Having dinner a couple of days out the week, sitting down at the family table is
Yeah.
good for engaging and promoting. It also gives you the boundary on how you act when you sit out at a table in the public restaurant. And if
Yeah.
you don't do that at home, you won't know how to conduct yourself. And that's why when we go to restaurants and you see that one family with the kids running all over the place and throwing stuff, somebody
Yeah.
didn't set the boundaries. Somebody
Yeah.
didn't set the boundaries.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a parent. She was saying that she liked what you're saying about setting boundaries, and it's equally important when you set those boundaries to make sure you stick with them and reinforce it to ensure that the your child is clear with what the boundaries are
Mhm.
set.
I
Yeah.
definitely believe that, because have you guys ever had the feeling when you put your kid on punishment, sometimes you feel like you're on punishment too?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and say, but this is what's best, because they need to understand this consequence.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that person is right on point. You got to make sure you keep the boundaries in place. So yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know what? I just saw a quote from a friend of mine today. She just said that she missed a whole Easter egg hunt with her son. What Nikki? I think Nikki said it, but she missed a whole Easter egg hunt with her son because he's on punishment.
Mhm.
And she that same quote. I'm like, wow. And that's true. It is true. Sometimes you have to make the sacrifice of making sure that your child understand. Hey, Nikki, yep, Nikki, I saw your post. I just said your quote. But yeah, sometimes you have to make the sacrifice so that your child completely understand that you mean business,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
And
it's tough.
they're watching if you keep your word on what you say. And
Yep.
that was a lesson for me, that I had to learn that I got to keep my word. And if I don't keep my word, I need to go back and give an update as to what the next thing is. So
Mhm.
Yes.
being a big pusher of explaining. Now, that can backfire. That's something I learned, because sometimes it's like, I don't have to explain. This is what it is. I think we all
Yeah.
heard that because I'm the mama. We didn't
That's
like it. I don't necessarily use it too often, but sometimes it's, you don't always have to explain. It's like, this is what it is. These are the boundaries. In fact, now that you're 16, just to give an example, these are some things that you can do within reason.
yeah.
So,
And I like that you pointed that out, because there is sometimes because I said so, it's necessary or it's okay to use it. And like you said, you don't use it too often, but sometimes that's your big gun. And sometimes you got to pull out the big gun, like, because I said so. There's no explanation, do what I said, period, point blank. Yeah. So one of the questions that I have, so let me ask you this, like, think about like even trying to get your children to complete certain tasks. And I'm going to use cleaning up, because so here I'm coming to you for a therapy moment real quick. So so what is the boundaries with that, like, with telling your child to do, because just like you said, they're testing you sometimes. So
mhm.
telling your child to go complete tasks, and then when you send them off to complete tasks, they don't do it. However, when I hover over them and I'm watching them, or my son, I'm back on my son, y'all, amen. But yeah, so when I hover over him and I'm watching him, then he mad because I'm all in his, personal space. But
Mhm.
that's the sacrifice I have to make sometimes. Like, I have to stop what I'm doing to make sure that he carries out. So what is the boundaries there?
Okay. That's a good one, because again, I have sons, and boys are different than girls.
Yes.
We that. Um, I had to learn to link task to incentive.
Mhm.
So, for example, oh, mom, we gonna do this weekend. We going, everybody gonna be on the skateboards, blah blah blah. Oh, that sounds so fun. We used to skateboard. I'm all in. A
Mhm.
couple of days before, I may say, I know you got this coming up, and here's what needs to happen
Mhm.
Mm,
before you can go. And what I like, and one of my girlfriends, and she's not a mom, but she has mentored many young people. She calls it the reward incentive. So the reward is going to be that by you completing the task, whether it's cleaning the garage, raking the leaves, whatever we're trying to get them to do or need them to do, then you can go and go skateboarding. But guess what? If you do it and do it before you have to leave the day before, I'm gonna give you $20 to put in your pocket so you'll have a little ice cream money. So it's a reward that you get to go do what you want to do, and then I put an incentive on top of it.
Okay.
And that has worked in many situations, but I'm still reminding my son, but I will give a shout out to my oldest, who his only job was to take out the trash. The trash was the same day, every day a week. He came over one day last week and I wasn't here, and he pulled my trash can to the back. I said, by golly, he finally got it. And he don't even live here.
That's beautiful. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So incentive and reward.
So parents, please do not confuse the two. Incentives and bribery is not the same thing.
It not.
Is not the same.
It's not.
You know, because I've heard it being done, and I'm just looking like, wow, okay, yeah.
And I usually use that, like, say, if I know you're not gonna really do the leaves the way I know, I'm gonna link that task to something. So I don't do it with everything, but for those bigger tasks to prevent, because to be honest, Lisa, I know your son is younger than mine. I have stood over enough people. I don't feel like standing over nobody no more.
Yeah. Amen.
So I had to come up with something different because it's taking me away. I'm missing the Easter egg hunt because I got to stand over you. So it works. And, you know, you have to tap in and find out what works best for you and your household. You know, there's no one size fits all. There's no how to be the best mom based upon the way my mom was, because certain things that my mom did with me, they didn't work with my kids. And I even had to go back and tell her, I have this challenge because of this. So therefore, I'm not going to do that with mine because I don't want that. They couldn't handle the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, so getting into the next question. So we know one of the mistakes, you know, and I'm gonna point that out again, parents, you know, don't confuse incentives with making bribes. But how can parents avoid making the mistakes of setting the boundaries? How can they avoid confusing, you know, those thin lines?
Not keeping your word on what you said they needed to do. As soon as, because I was the type of kid, I was looking for the crack to get through to be able to be who I am. And
that's your creativeness. Yeah.
That was me. So I had to learn everything I did, they're probably doing too. So what made me be the way I was? Oh, if my mama said, oh, she let it slide. So you can't let it slide. You got to hold people accountable, and you got to hold yourself accountable.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah, it's important for us to, accountability is important because it not only helps us to reinforce our decision, it shows our children that it's important to, you know, be accountable, basically.
Because every facet of life, you're accountable for something. You're responsible for something. So it always starts at home and with the village.
That village, so important. And keeping your word and having structure and being organized. Here I go mentoring to myself. That organization, you know. So Miss April, did you want to acknowledge any of the parents in the chat, and maybe what was I going to say? I think there's a few questions. I don't have my glasses on.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. So Miss Nikki T. Key, she said, my thing with incentives is that why do we have to pay you to do something you're supposed to do?
Is that a question or that's a
statement? That's a question.
So it's not paying them, just like allowance. We used to have the battle or the conversation about allowance. It's supposed to be what I allow you to have. You really shouldn't have to have done anything with it. That incentive thing is just a parental strategy for those that have more challenging children.
Okay.
Some people have, if I can just put it that way, it's just a parental strategy. But most certainly, there are many opportunities. This is what needs to be done, and I need you to do it.
Yeah.
But I think we all like incentive. I
Yeah.
know at work when they say if you do extra, hit this goal, then you can get this. So it kind of
Yeah.
is a driver
Yeah.
of someone. I'm looking at it more of an influencer and a persuasion of doing the right thing. And sometimes you can get something
Yeah.
from doing the right thing more than just accolades or a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Not.
then
I am the parent to say this not gonna happen every time. You're not gonna get something every time. I
Mhm.
say
that's
that. I say a lot so they understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the key point. I think that's the key point that they understand. Like, an incentive, like you said, it's a buildup.
Mhm.
It's what do you call it? You got to make this goal. So, you may get to 5, let's just say numbers, but you may 5 this week, 10 this week, but you have to get to 50 so that you can get, so that you have enough. You're doing good, you're on your way, but yeah, you have to get to 50 in order to, to hit that goal. What were you getting ready to say, Miss April?
No, I was going to acknowledge also Miss Tina Tina. I missed her. We love our favorite Tina Tina. She was saying, "Oh wow, that's good to know. I never thought about your child getting threes. Because threes in citizenship. Put them in a public speaking class. She absolutely loves that idea. Yep, and she said she also loved the goals, planning around the house, and she is here taking notes because she says it's very helpful, even with what we're saying about self care. So we definitely appreciate our champion parent, Miss Tina Tina. Yeah.
Yay.
Hmm.
And I have to admit, I was a good student in school, but I too am a part of the three.
I think it's a Lisa thing. It's a Lisa thing.
Yeah, I often get the calls home like she just will not stop talking. Yep. So, but
And look
yeah,
at
so
how influencing, speaking, and educating and talking, and it comes natural. And
Yeah.
that goes back to tapping into what you see in your children as a spark. And
Hmm.
as
yeah,
a parent, that's what we're supposed to do. Not necessarily what we want them to be, but who they are and tap into it. So,
Hmm.
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So can we kind of remind our viewers again and go back into those key areas where the parents can set boundaries? There are some key areas that are a good focus to set boundaries.
Hmm.
So definitely you want to promote self-care and self-love and let them know that it's important for me time. Health and diet and exercise, all of that is so important. It builds up your immune system. So you want to incorporate vegetables and water and exercise and sports and whatever it is that will make them be well-rounded from a health perspective. Start kids off, my grandkids. Okay, so in my kitchen, I have this big bucket of all different type of supplements. Everybody know if you spend the night over here with Shusha, you taking some vitamins tonight, you go get some black seed oil. Tomorrow you gonna have this. They just know it. They know it. And what has happened is now my older adult children, they take vitamins, they take supplements because they've been groomed to do so. So definitely health, diet, and exercise, self-care and love, and education. And education isn't always textbook. You know,
Mhm.
one of the things that we did because I was raised by educators is every vacation included some educational component. So
Yeah.
just being able to, yeah, we're gonna have fun, but we're gonna learn something too. So those are the fundamental things as far as setting boundaries. And the other thing I said earlier was, some people require other boundaries that maybe other kids don't. And so you have to recognize that too to make sure you do what's best for your child individually.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I like that, especially with the travel, the vacation. That it's good to you travel, kind of hang out, have fun, but definitely try to get in some historical landmarks, and make it an educational moment. I like that.
And as a kid, I did not like it. And as an adult, I laughed because we were doing the same thing
Yep.
because I was on the other side and it was beneficial. Mhm.
Yes. So how do you know that setting boundaries, like how do you know that it's work or that it's been that it has worked, that it's been successful, that it's effective?
Twofold. So one of the things I made that reference to the bro and the language that the young people use, and I use a little slang, but in my creativity, sitting down and saying it's not okay to talk to me like that. It's not okay to make reference to me in that manner. It's not okay for you to engage with me the same way you would engage with your friend on FaceTime that I see you talking to. So that's one thing um, that I've talked to all three of my young adult children about communication with me. I don't care if I know I'm cool. I always tell them I put the K in cool. I know I'm cool. Don't get no cooler. But it's a different level and there's a certain respect that you should have. And so now I don't have to. I see my son, he'll catch himself. I know bro was going to come out, but he'll catch himself and he'll be like, Mom. And I laugh because I'm like, he got it. Or even with my daughter. So that's the biggest one that I have because that being your friend does send the wrong message that makes them be very lax in their interaction with you. So setting a boundary on how you still need to talk to me and share information with me and craft it in such a way that you recognize you're talking to your mother and you're not talking to your friend. That's been the one. The other thing that has worked well is the cooking thing. In so much we had chicken swarmers. It was her night tonight. And I did the chicken, a little bit of the chicken, and she was upset because she said, this was my day. I'm supposed to cook. You shouldn't have done anything. And then I saw it going left, and then I just kind of brought it back into it and I said, you know what? I overstepped my boundary. My day isn't today. Right. I got a little hungry earlier, but you still own it. So even if you don't keep the boundary that you set, because I said Monday and Tuesday were her cooking nights, and I overstepped by doing the chicken part, I was able to say, you know what, I apologize. I overstepped my boundary. Today is your day, and I'll look forward to my plate later.
Yep, and they appreciate that. They appreciate that. You know, they don't want to feel like you don't want to get your kids to feel like that you're perfect and you're above apologizing, because we make mistakes all the time, continuously. So it's important for us to apologize, and take ownership of our mistake.
And April, that's why I drink out of my cup right now that says life does not have to be perfect to be wonderful.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. That's my favorite word. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yep. So are you working on any special projects right now that you want to share?
Sure. I'm always working on something. My number one self project is me. I'm always working on me. But going back to your children, looking at what you do so that they can see the appropriate behavior. I am all for charity work, charitable causes, and I actually have my own business called Elevated Inspirations, where I'm a cause entrepreneur and I connect with individuals who want to give back to nonprofits through charitable donations and share good Napa, award-winning Napa Valley wine. So my daughter sees me connecting with people who are doing stuff for like autism, doing things for PTOs, heart awareness, anybody who is interested in giving back to an organization that's dear and near to your heart, and you don't have to put in much effort. We can do a virtual event. It's just a matter of connecting with the organization you want. And so that's what my passion is right now, because there's so many opportunities to help people. Even if we think we can't, there's so many ways that you can help without necessarily even going into your own pocket, but maybe sponsoring something or supporting something. So as a cause entrepreneur with One Hope Wines, I'm able to connect people to be able to raise funds for donations that are dear to their heart. And my daughter sees that. So that's another way of setting the boundaries to let her know it's not just about going to work and making money and having fun and living well, but you also need to help out your fellow man.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. And I'm on social media platforms, and I'm elevating and spreading joy to any and everybody who follows me, and really anybody who I interact with on a day-to-day basis.
And I wanted to, I couldn't, I kind of lost my train of thought earlier, but I like that, going back to the cooking and how your daughter, how you is basically you trained her and, you wanted her to do something a certain kind of way. And she said, hold on, mom, hold on. Now this is thank you, but this is the way I want to do it. And it's like, wow, and that's something it's important that when we see that our children start, it's actually really a compliment to your teaching, because if they constantly do everything how we taught them how to do everything, then it's kind of hard to see their growth. But when you see them say, hold on, wait a minute, I got this, and my daughter, like, she does it like to me all the time, and it's just like, wow, she'll be 18, in a couple, well, not a couple months, but next year she'll be 18 in February. But, it's just a beautiful feeling to know that you've done such a great job as a champion parent. So I'm gonna say kudos to you, because I know sometimes, just like I said, again, looking at it, it's like, hold on, wait a minute, but this is the way I told you to do it this way, so.
That goes back to accepting them for who they are, yes. Because their process may be different, but the goal is still accomplished. And so I've had to learn that as well, that it's not necessarily the way I would do it, but it's the way they would do it, and that's how they process it, and we still got the same outcome. And that has been the hardest thing as a parent, and especially as they get older, start thinking on their own, which is what you want them to do.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Because I know we're going to be closing out soon. Another way to set good boundaries is to expose your children to things. So what I do in my professional capacity is run volunteer programs in a hospital, in a healthcare system. We have summer college and summer teen volunteer programs for youngsters. So putting your kids in volunteer programs so that they can get some exposure to see what they might want to be or what arena they may want to go into, crafting their hobbies and their sports around what sparks them, and not necessarily because I'm a football fan. My kids, they didn't really like football, but I wanted them to like football. They like basketball, and so that was okay too. So just to give that example, and if I can share one really quick story, my shampoo guy was fixing on his daughter's home with drills and different things. And his grandson, he said, just kept coming up to him, and he just liked the drill and liked the screws and the hammer. And he said he might want to be a carpenter. So he went out and bought his 4-year-old grandson this play tool set that has an educational component to it about what each instrument does or what tool does. And I said, you know what, you tapped into a spark that you saw in him. And that's what we have to do as parents, is tap into what sparks and interests our children, and then set boundaries around that for them to succeed.
Yeah. Yes. So true.
I can
so
agree.
True.
Yeah.
So do you want, so I know that you have a couple of social media platforms. If you want to share your followings, we can put those into the chat.
Okay. So on Instagram, my business name Elevated Inspirations, but you will find me under sweet.816, because I still think I'm sweet 16 like my daughter, but my date of birth is 816, and that's my wine name. So sweet.816.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Elevated Inspirations on Facebook.
Elevated Inspirations. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to kind of recap. First of all, this has been a great conversation, very eye-opening. And I just love that as a parent, we have to be open to learning. We constantly, as Miss April, one of her quotes, that we are ever evolving. So we have to be open to learn, because we don't know everything, but we know enough, to do what we have to do, but we still have to be open. So just like that communication piece, and again, setting the boundaries and allowing your children to be who they are. So with all these wonderful things that you have shared with us, with your energy, do you have any final thoughts for our viewers?
Forgive yourself for the mistakes you may make as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
I go back and apologize to your parents if you see that your kid did something that you did and then you had the impact.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I had to go back and apologize.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I'm going to have to say because this is the biggest lesson I learned. When your kids are excited about something and you allow them to join a committee or join a club or join something, and then they get in and they don't like it no more, or they don't like the coach or the teacher, don't let them quit. Hold them accountable to the end of the band season, and then you don't have to be in band next year, but you're going to be in band for the entire season because this is what you wanted. Mm-hmm. I learned that the hard way. Somebody said, if my kids said they didn't like something, I was like, y'all ain't got to go. Y'all ain't got to be in that. That was the biggest mistake. Mm-hmm. Because you set up a mindset of, I don't have to finish nothing. If I don't like it, I don't have to do it. And mm-hmm. that's not the reality of life. Mm-hmm. So forgive yourself, take care of yourself, set boundaries, and don't let your kids quit things because it's teaching them a mixed message. Unless they're in harm's way, then that's different. But just because they don't want to get up at 5 a.m. no more because they didn't realize it was going to be that hard. Got to do it until the end of the season, and then you don't have to anymore. Mm-hmm. Your platform here, I think, is awesome. People need a village. They need resources like this to be able to come, and I am so humbled and grateful for you all even inviting me to be on here. I definitely am a champion parent, and I'm gonna just keep on fighting the fight.
We appreciate it.
Yes, and I want to first of all, I want to thank you again for coming, and I also want to encourage our viewers that please check out Miss Lisa's following. Check out her Instagram. I'm sorry. Check out her Instagram. And she's very, if you watch from the beginning, she's very inspirational, wealth of knowledge. So please check it out. I think not any, but I think all things kind of help to shape us to be, who we are. So there's nothing wrong with getting some daily love and some daily inspiration. And Miss Lisa and Elevated Inspirations is a great place to go get those things. So check her out, good people.
Yeah. So remember, champion parents, if you're interested in chatting with us, feel free to send us a message or visit us on our website at www.parentinginrhythm.com. We welcome you and want to know what works for you while successfully raising your children. And it may be very important as it relates to others. Thank you, Miss Austin, Miss Lisa Austin. Of course, we definitely appreciate you for spending your evening with us here on Parenting in Rhythm. Definitely shared a lot of nuggets and a lot of jewels, and we just appreciate the wealth of knowledge that you shared.
My pleasure. Pleasure.
So also, parents, please email us and continue to check us out on the website for upcoming shows and events. Visit our Facebook page to be connected to our Facebook group where we share information throughout the week and just to chat and blog with us. Again, we'd like to thank our viewers for tuning in. Until next time, be safe while adhering to the CDC guidelines. Until next time, see you guys later.
Stay in rhythm.
Stay in rhythm.